There is a monster hiding in our solar system. For thousands of years, we have looked up at it and called it a masterpiece. We named it after a god of time and agriculture. We drew it in our textbooks as a peaceful golden sphere surrounded by a halo of light. We think of it as the jewel of our cosmic neighborhood, but we are wrong. If you stripped away the distance and hovered just above its clouds, you wouldn't find peace. You would find a world of screaming violence. You would see a sky that rips itself open with lightning 10,000 times more powerful than a nuclear warhead. You would feel gravity so immense it tears entire moons apart. And those beautiful rings, they aren't a halo, they are a crime scene, the scattered remains of a world that wandered too close and was shredded into trillions of icy shards. The Saturn you know is a lie. The real Saturn is a chaotic engine of destruction that is slowly devouring its own children. And the most terrifying part, it is dying. The masterpiece we see today is a fleeting accident in time. To understand the violence, you first have to look at the shape. Saturn is not a sphere. It spins so violently, completing a day in just 10.5 hours, that the centrifugal force has flattened the planet. It bulges at the equator, looking like a crushed pumpkin. This speed drives the most ferocious weather system we have ever encountered. On Earth, a hurricane is a disaster. On Saturn, it is a permanent state of being. The winds at the equator scream at 1,100 miles per hour. That is faster than the speed of sound. If you were to drop into the upper atmosphere, you wouldn't just be blown away. You would be pulverized by the sheer kinetic energy of the air itself. But the true madness lies at the top of the world. At the North Pole sits the hexagon. It is a storm pattern that defies logic. A perfect six-sided geometric shape wider than two Earths side by side. Nature does not do straight lines. Clouds do not form corners. And yet, there it is. A rotating fortress of jet streams that has been spinning for perhaps centuries, maybe longer. At the center of this geometry is the rose, a terrifying vortex that looks like a deep red eye staring unblinkingly into the void. It is a hurricane 50 times larger than anything the Atlantic has ever produced. And then there are the great white spots. Roughly every 30 Earth years, once a Saturnian year, the planet seems to erupt from the inside out. Massive columns of ammonia and water vapor punch through the upper cloud decks, wrapping the entire planet in a white shroud. These aren't just storms, they are planetary convulsions. They generate lightning bolts that last for minutes at a time, turning the golden night into a blinding strobe light of electrical death. However, the violence of the atmosphere pales in comparison to the violence of the rings. From a telescope, they look like a solid disk, smooth, serene, unbreakable. But this is an illusion of distance. If you were drifting inside the B ring, the silence of space would be betrayed by the chaos around you. It is a blizzard of ice. Some pieces are as small as grains of sand, others are the size of mountains. And they are not drifting peacefully. They are constantly colliding, shattering, and grinding against one another. For decades, astronomers wondered where this material came from. Why does Saturn have such spectacular rings, while Jupiter and Neptune have only faint, dusty bands? The leading theory is grim. We believe that roughly 100 million years ago, just yesterday in cosmic time, a moon, perhaps the size of Titan, drifted past the point of no return. It crossed the Roche limit. This is the invisible line where a planet's gravity becomes stronger than the gravity holding a moon together. Saturn sees this moon. It didn't just crash it, it dissected it. The planet's gravity grabbed the near side of the moon and pulled it harder than the far side, stretching the world until it snapped. The rock and ice were pulverized, spread out into a thin sheet, and trapped in orbit. When you look at Saturn's rings, you are looking at the corpse of a destroyed world, smeared across the sky as a trophy. And Saturn is not done. It is currently eating the evidence. Gravity is pulling the ring particles down as ring rain, a dusty downpour of ice falling into the atmosphere. Every second, Saturn swallows a swimming pool's worth of its own rings. In a few hundred million years, they will be gone completely. We are incredibly lucky to be alive at the exact moment in history to see them. While the rings are dead, the moons that survived are terrifyingly alive. Saturn is the king of a massive entourage, holding over 80 moons in its grip, but two of them demand our attention. The first is Titan. It is the only moon in the solar system with a thick atmosphere. If you stood on the surface of Titan, the sky wouldn't be black. It would be a hazy, sickly orange. The air pressure is higher than on Earth. The gravity is low. If you strapped wings to your arms, you could flap them and fly through the sky like a bird. But you wouldn't want to. Titan is a twisted mirror of Earth. It has rivers, lakes, and rain. It has coastlines and clouds. But the water is rock-hard ice, frozen solid at hundreds of degrees below zero. The liquid flowing in those rivers is not water. It is methane and ethane. Liquid natural gas. It rains gasoline on Titan. The lakes are filled with lighter fluid. It is a familiar yet alien nightmare. A place where the chemistry of life exists, but in a toxic, frozen slurry that would kill a human instantly. If Titan is a toxic wasteland, Enceladus is a frozen riddle. It is a tiny, bright white ball of ice reflecting almost all the sunlight that hits it. For years, we thought it was just a dead, frozen rock. But then we saw the plumes. At the south pole of Enceladus, massive geysers shoot water vapor and ice hundreds of miles into space. This tiny moon is active. Beneath that thick shell of ice lies a global, liquid saltwater ocean. It is warmed by the friction of Saturn's gravity, which stretches and squeezes the moon as it orbits. This is the most compelling place in the solar system to look for life. We have detected salts, organic molecules, and heat, the three ingredients needed for biology. Deep in the dark, under miles of ice, hydrothermal vents might be churning out heat, just like the lost city vents in Earth's Atlantic Ocean, where life thrives without sunlight. In the wasteland of the outer solar system, amidst the gas giants and dead rocks, Enceladus is a warm, beating heart. We know all of this because we went there. We sent a robotic emissary called Cassini. For 13 years, Cassini orbited Saturn, weaving through the rings and buzzing the moons. It sent us the photos that changed our understanding of the universe. It tasted the dust of the rings and flew through the geysers of Enceladus. But in 2017, Cassini was running out of fuel, and this presented a danger. If the spacecraft was left adrift, it might one day crash into Enceladus or Titan. If there were even a single microbe from Earth still clinging to its metal chassis, we could contaminate those worlds and destroy alien life before we ever found it. So NASA made a hard choice. They ordered Cassini to execute the grand finale. The spacecraft used its last drops of fuel to dive into the gap between the planet and the rings, a region no one had ever dared to fly. It survived 22 dives, getting closer and closer to the beast. On September 15th, 2017, the final command was given. Cassini turned its antenna toward Earth and plunged into Saturn's atmosphere. It didn't go quietly. It fought. As the atmosphere thickened, the thrusters fired frantically to keep the antenna pointed home, streaming data until the very last millisecond. It told us the composition of the atmosphere as it burned. In the end, Saturn did what it does best. It crushed the intruder, vaporized it, and made it part of the planet forever. Cassini is now part of the wind, flowing through the storms it once watched from above. Saturn is a reminder of the duality of our universe. It is undeniably beautiful, perhaps the most beautiful thing we can see with our own eyes. But that beauty is born from chaos. The rings are a shattered moon. The storms are thermal violence. The moons are toxic traps or frozen shells. It reminds us that the universe is not static. It is violent, evolving, and temporary. The Saturn we see today will not be the Saturn of the future. The rings are vanishing. The storms will shift. So the next time you see a picture of that golden giant, don't just see a planet. See the wreckage, see the power, see the magnificent, deadly chaos that lies beneath the calm. If you want to join us as we peel back the layers of the universe to find the darkness hiding inside, make sure you hit that subscribe button. The cosmos is full of monsters, and we're going to find them all.